Recording. So welcome everybody. Welcome to kind of an informal conversation night that we wanted to talk about contests, how we're doing with area contests, what we've learned from area contests, what we need to apply to division and district contests, and kind of where we are with the whole thing. So thank you all for joining tonight. The number one reason we're going together is we have some, I've certainly heard some things from around the district that not every contest has necessarily been held kind of with the same processes, that we've had some different stuff happen. I just wanted to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page for how to do contests, some of the stuff operationally that we should be doing, some of the stuff from a procedural standpoint that should happen, and how to put those things in place so we can make sure that as we go forward, the contests that we're having really are the best experience for everyone who's competing, for those that are coming to watch, for the functionaries, for you as the organizers. Just trying to make sure everyone's kind of on the same page and working towards that. So cool with that? Thumbs up, we're cool with that. Fantastic. Thank you all very much. I do apologize. It was only a couple of days notice. I know it's a little bit shorter than most times. But after coming out of the weekend, this past weekend, we just wanted to try to get something together quickly. This isn't a long conversation. This isn't going to be like an hour call tonight. So I guess I want to open this up first. I just want to kind of ask you, from a contest standpoint, how many of you have had contests so far? So a little over, it looks like about half or so. Okay. What do you think the biggest learnings were that you had? Before we start with the learning, sorry. So I'm not cryptic. Let's kind of go through some of the stuff that I want to make sure that we're buttoned up on from a process standpoint. That I know it's happening out there, multiple areas, multiple divisions. Just kind of make sure everybody's kind of on the same page. Let's start first with how we communicate to the functionaries and to the contestants that are out there. When we are inviting all of our functionaries out there, there should be a divide between who the judges get to talk to and who the contestants get to talk to. They shouldn't be the same group. So if we're doing a mass email that goes to everybody that's out there, that says, hey, welcome everyone. We are really glad you're going to be coming to the contest. Here's all the contestants. Here's all of the functionary. Here's all of the judges. We then eliminate that whole part of the judges needing to be anonymous if we tell everybody ahead of the contest whom the judges are. So if you're going to do mass emails, let's make sure that we're separating those out so that we have one going towards the judging population and one going towards the contestant population. So those two don't get mixed between the two. What we really do want to have the judges be as anonymous as possible. So do you understand? So is everyone clear on why that is? Questions about that? Thoughts about that? No, we're all good? Okay. The second part, as we're sending those notes out to everybody, I know that we're trying to be as inclusive as possible, and I completely get all of this is for a lot of area directors, division directors. This might be the first time that we're organizing large contests. From a communication standpoint, when we're communicating towards the masses of here's who the contestants are. At an area level, we really shouldn't be putting the club that they're representing on the agenda. From a division level, we shouldn't be putting the area they're representing on the agenda. And from a district level, we won't be putting the division they're representing on the agenda. The reason for this, I hate to say this, but I have certainly seen it happen in the past. Some folks like to vote for their friends, like to vote for their people. We know it happens. That's just part of what happens out there. Sometimes we have individuals that agree to be judges that kind of have their mind made up before the whole thing starts. They're like, well, I don't like area XX because they were mean to me and didn't give me a Coke the last time I went to one of their meetings. Their bagels were stale. Their pizza was cold. The room was too hot. It snowed that day. Um, Fill in the blank, a lot of like crazy stuff. And you're all laughing. You're like, I know you people know that this stuff happens out there. This isn't like this isn't something that's coming as a shock. So when we put those agendas out there, separate them out so that we say, okay, here are our four contestants. We have name A, name B, name C, name D, but don't have representing club or representing area or representing division for those things. We shouldn't have, so nobody kind of knows where they're from and what club they're representing, what area they're representing. So does that make sense to why we do that? We're good with that? Questions about that?
Yes, Scott, I have a question.
Okay, got a couple.
You see, for an area contest, you have to announce the area because it is an area contest.
No, you're not going to put the club.
You mean not the club in the area?
Correct. In the area contest, you're going to say, yes, this is, I'm just going to pick a random number. This is area 21. Yes, you do that. But you don't say representing Fort Wayne Speakeasy from area 21, we have Rick Holtmeyer. Representing Wall Street Talks from area 21, we have Lori Haynes. You're not going to put the name of the club by the person. I know, Lori, you're not in that club. I'm sorry. You're in the middle of the screen. I'm sorry I picked you out for that. So we don't put the name of the club for the area contest. At the division level, then we don't put, this is Division B's contest, and representing area 21 is Rick Holtmeyer. Representing area 22 is Mark Walton. Representing area 24 is Lori Haynes. So you don't put the area in the division contest agenda. You don't put the club name in the area contest agenda. Maybe I wasn't clear on that one. Does that make sense? Yes. Gabrielle, yes.
So I think a best practice would be to list alphabetically the contestants by last name, and that will just eliminate any kind of discussion or why.
Yes, correct. Either first name or last name. I don't care which one. You can pick either one. We're a first name group. Most times we don't refer to us as, I'm now ceding the floor to Toastmaster Nagy. That's not how we normally do stuff. We normally just say, Gabriella, what do you have? So if you want to do first names, perfectly fine. Pick an alphabetical order, just use the same one for all of them. Doesn't matter which one.
And then anyways, during the contestant interview, you will have questions to reveal what club and other things.
Correct. I want to caution against the contestant, something to do in the contestant interview though. If you do the contestant interview, if you're doing the evaluation contest and then you're doing the international speech contest, and you have somebody who is competing in both the evaluation contest and the international speech contest, during that interview, what you're actually doing is you're giving them some extra airtime with everybody else that's in the room. And if the judges come back and get to hear that stuff, they can either say, oh, I like that person because they like to knit underwater, or I don't like that person because they think we should drive on the left-hand side of the road. So be careful of having the interview in between the two. I would prefer the best practice that I have seen is to wait until the end after everyone's competed to do the interviews together. As you're doing that between contests, a break, go to the restroom, go get some refreshments, all those things that we would normally do if we were in person, but try not to give the contestants either an unfair advantage or disadvantage by putting them up in front of a group that it may go well, it may not go well. Janae, I see your hand up, and then Donna will go to you after Janae, okay?
Thank you, Scott. I'm just curious, if we're not supposed to technically know what clubs the area is representing, what clubs that they're representing, then why is it necessary to ensure that you have a judge from the club that there's a speaker participant?
It's a very good question. And this is a real life example, and I've seen this happen in real life. So we don't want to publicize it. So you have, let's say that, well, I'll use you as an example just because you asked a question. Janae is a member of two clubs, and they happen to both be in the same area. She competed for one, but not the other. Now we have a judge in that room that used to be in Club A with Janae, but doesn't like Club A, and doesn't want to do anything with Club A. So now that we're saying what club Janae is representing, now there's a bias from that judge against that club. So we're trying to let them just judge based upon the speech. The reason why we ask one per club for an area contest, it has happened. It happens on a regular basis all around the world. When the judges vote, they vote for the club member from their individual club. So you have 5 contestants, you have 5 regular judges. Each one of them votes for their person who's in the contest. And then the tiebreaker judge is the one that ends up breaking the tie and determines who moves on. It's not the way it's supposed to work. It's always supposed to be based upon the merits of the speech, based upon the criteria, to judge by the criteria on the contest forms. But it happens. We know I've seen it happen in real life. So the reason why we ask for the 1 per at least is that you have somebody from each of the clubs. When you're doing division level contests, a great practice is to get all of your judges from outside of your division, and you eliminate that whole I'm only going to vote for my person from my area, because you're getting somebody from a different area completely. So Janae, does that help clarify the why behind that? Yeah, it's a shame that happens, but I've seen it happen in real life. It's not cool, but it happens. Donna, how can I help you, my friend?
Regarding the interviews,
Mhm.
it's the contest master and the chief judge that should be cognizant of who's competing in the evaluation contest, since we always do international first. But I would also share with everybody what I've always been trained on, and that's by past regional directors. We need to have fair representation from each of the clubs for the contestants. So technically, we should have 1 person from the club that the contestant is from, and then we have additional judges, and they are the ones that offset the 2 or 3, 4 from the area contest, and vice versa with the division level. It is having your area directors do it, but I have a unique situation this year where all of my area directors, their winners, are from their home club. So I am reaching out to find other judges. But back to wrap it up, it's the contestant and contest master and chief judge that should be cognizant of who's competing in both clubs or both speeches.
And the contest chair as well. Laura, I'll get you in 1 second. I see you waving. Hold on 1 second. So you're absolutely right. They should definitely be cognizant of that. A couple things though. There is no specific rule that says the international speech contest has to go first. We are one of the few districts that actually does have a history of doing international first. Most districts do international last, because the reason why people generally come to contests, no, I see you going, no, and this Donna, stop waving your finger at me. I'm not waving my finger at you. That's not very nice. There's no rule that says that. The reason why many other districts do it the other way is because when you have folks that come on to watch a contest, often the drawing point is the international speech contest. So they do that. So they do that later. They do that last. If you look at the flow that we have at district, we do evaluation on Friday, international on Saturday. So if you want to do the international speech contest first, you can. If you want to do the international speech contest last, you can. It is okay to do either way. There are pros and cons to both. Could you have somebody as a test speaker steal someone's thunder from an evaluation contest to the international speech? It is highly unlikely, but it is possible.
Yeah.
It is for the goal, though. So as you are having that conversation with whomever your test speaker is, find out what they're talking about and try to get them off of a highly emotional speech, a highly motivational speech. Let them talk about something that's fun. The funnier you can have a more entertaining speech that you can have for the test speaker for evaluation, you generally don't get that worry about the bleed over. All the contests I've been in, I've only seen one instance where there's been any sort of even similarity between them. But it really depends on what are you looking to do. Are you looking to try to have the most engaging contest possible, which is really for the members and for the engagement level, or are you looking to try to eliminate every possibility that there could be any kind of bleed over? So one of those two things, but there's no rule that says you have to do one before the other. Best practice is one thing. Not many districts actually do it the way that we do it in the history we have in England. Most do it the other way around. So that's just out there. So Donna, does that answer some of your question there? That's with
No,
No,
that
okay.
I would just beg to differ because years back we did have the evaluation contest first, international second, and the evaluation speaker took and talked about what the person in the international contest talked about. And so that took away from her speech, and it threw some favor in other members' speeches, and it got this individual all flustered by having the evaluation target speaker talk about the same thing. And that's why
So there is a very easy way around that. And it has to do with communication. The vast majority of contestants are going to be using the same speech, club level, area level, division level, district level. Most of them don't rewrite speeches as they go. If you're communicating with the folks at the club level, the area, the level before, and have an idea of what they're talking about, you can talk to your test speaker, find out what they're going to talk about, and make sure that they're not the same things. Communicate. We're a communication organization. The more that we communicate and have that dialogue back and forth, the better chance we have of eliminating that issue. So I'm not going to say that there is one way that's right, one way that's wrong. The wrong way would be to just take it by happenstance and chance without having any sort of dialogue or communication in the meantime. Have the communication, talk to people about that so that you know what they're going to talk about and you can find a test speaker that doesn't step on anybody's toes. But historically, it has been proven the people come for the international contest more often. You'll get more people that stay if you do that later. So I hope that clears that up just a little bit there. Laura, thank you for being so patient, my friend.
Oh, that's fine, because I really enjoyed hearing your answers. I do have a question though, because somebody mentioned that like the area directors or whoever were winners in contests in their club, and I didn't think area directors were allowed to participate in contests.
No, area directors are not allowed to participate in contests. I don't think that's what was. I think that might have. I think what Donna was trying to say is that the area directors have representatives from their clubs that have moved on. So
Yeah.
It's not that the area directors
Okay,
represent,
well,
but
yeah,
somebody from
okay,
their home
because
club is.
I got the feeling that you were saying area director that had come out was that area directors had participated in a club contest and then won it, and I thought, wait a minute, I didn't think we were allowed to participate. So
That's not how it works. That's not how
okay,
any of this works.
that's correct. I'm just wanting to make sure I was correct.
Yes.
What I was saying was because all my area directors, the contestant that is moving on to the division is from their home club. Therefore, I cannot use them as a judge. They can be used in other aspects, but not as a judge.
Yes.
I think
So Gabrielle, hold on. I'll come to you in 1 second, okay? So the one other piece to this, if you're doing an area contest or if you are doing a division contest, you do not have to necessarily have judges from just from your area. You can have, if you, let's say that Rick is doing the Division F contest. If he wants to, he could have all of his judges for his Division F contest. Somebody come from A, somebody come from C, somebody come from D. It doesn't matter where they are. They can come from other places as long as there is an equal representation for the members, for the clubs that are there. So if you have, if in the Division F contest, let's say he has 6 speakers, I'm just picking numbers here, Rick. I know these are probably wrong. Let's say he has 6 speakers, and of those 6 speakers, there is no judge that comes from the same club as any one of those speakers. He's done his job and made sure there's a level playing field. So you don't have to just stick within your little pocket. That's the great thing that we have with doing this on Zoom right now, is that all of us can travel just as far to wherever we go without having to leave our house. And that makes this a little bit easier to do that. So Rick, I don't think you have 6. I'm sorry to call you out there. That wasn't kind of the point. So does that help clarify that a little bit? Okay, Mark, Gabriella was before you, so let's go to Gabriella and then we'll come back to you. Okay, my friend? Gabriella, yes.
Actually, I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that as long as each area, I mean, you can act as a judge in the division contest if you are an area director, as long as every area that has a contestant
Correct.
has their own judge. And then in addition, you can have the tie-breaking judge, one of the representatives from the district, because at division level, they have to participate anyways, one someone.
If you're going to have one, if you're going to have one, they has to be representative for all, or you can have none.
Exactly.
None is an equal number.
Yeah.
So either way works perfectly fine. And Gabrielle, we'll come back to your voting thing in a second here. I saw the pop up in chat. We'll come back to that next. Okay. Cool. Mark.
I will mention just very briefly that the Division 11 Boost program, which you can find through the district website, has a tab for contest volunteers. If you're looking for help, that is one of the places to look. Later on in this meeting, I'm going to tell you another place where I am looking. Over to you.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Mark. I greatly appreciate that. All right, so there's one other part with the flow of the meeting that I think it's easy to get lost in the day of the meeting, but there's a couple of pieces here I want to cover real quickly when it comes to how stuff is announced. So first, let's talk about announcing of speakers. And Mark, since you were the last one to speak, congratulations, you are going to be the person we are announcing as a speaker. And Sarah, because you are beside Mark, you get to be example number 2. All right. When you have your contest master announcing the speakers, they should be announced with the same tone and pace. So you want to announce speaker number 1, Mark Walton. I live in front of rocks. I live in front of rocks, Mark Walton. Then after Mark speaks, and you'll go to introduce speaker number 2, Sarah Hawkinson. I don't know why Mark lives in front of rocks. I don't know why Mark lives in front of rocks, Sarah Hawkinson. It's the same pace, same tone. Here's what happens, and this is so easy for contest masters to do because they're human. They're absolutely human. Speaker number 1, Kathy Cunningham. I like picture windows. I like picture windows, Kathy Cunningham. Speaker, and then after she's done, Mark, I like rocks. True, very good. And then after that is done, then you go speaker number 2, Janae Bryant. Windows are great. Windows are great. Janae Bryant. What's different? It's pretty obvious, right? It happens though, and when you have that inflection change, and it's rarely that the, Crystal, I see your hand come up. We'll come to you in a second here. When it's rarely that we see somebody who's trying to impact that influence that. It's that the contest master is like, oh, I'm so excited that Janae is here. I love Janae so much. And it's just hard to contain the natural enthusiasm that they're doing a great job. They get to the person that they love and they get that and they just ramp it up. The other thing that happens is then they get to speaker number 3. Scott Brown. Windows are broken. Windows are broken. Scott Brown. Because somebody doesn't like speaker number 3, then it's a different cadence and tone. What that communicates to the judges is it becomes more of a, it becomes unfair for those folks who are competing. And it's generally not meant for it to happen that way, but it does happen that way. It happens that way. And I was in a couple of contests this weekend. I was on Saturday, I went to 4 different contests, and I heard that happen at 2 of the 4 contests that I was at. Not on purpose. Fortunately, it wasn't example 3, it was example 2, and it wasn't nearly that exaggerated, but you could tell the effervescence in the voice. So help your contest masters understand why and how to do that with that cadence and tone so it becomes even and flat across the board. It's the only time in Toastmasters where vocal variety is not a good thing. We want Ben Stein. We really want Bueller. That's perfect. So I hope that one helps. And we'll come back to some other things with that next. But Crystal, you had a question.
Actually, a comment, Scott.
Yes.
So to what you were just saying, also at the end of the speech, oh, that was a great speech. Contest master should not be commenting on each speaker. And in one of the contests that I was in, they did the introduce the speaker, then did the sound check, and then there was some confusion. Can we do the sound check and say, Scott, sound check, and then Scott Brown, windows are broken, Scott Brown.
Yeah. Thank you. That is an awesome segue because that's exactly where I was going next. So the flow. So we're okay with the announcement. We understand like how that happens for announcements and why to pay attention to that. Thumbs up. We're good with that. Sweet. Fantastic. All right. So exactly what Crystal was saying, there's a cadence of how Zoom meetings, Zoom contests have a little bit of a different cadence. Before the contest, or before you introduce speaker number 1, you're going to have 2 minutes of silence, which is really for the judges to prepare to make sure that they're ready to judge. That's really what that's for. In those 2 minutes, during those 2 minutes, have speaker number 1 sound check, please. Speaker number 1, we know who that's going to be. They're going to if Mark Walton is speaker number 1, he's going to make sure that his video is on, make sure his sound is on, so that he's not on mute when he starts to talk. At the end of the 2 minutes, then we say, speaker number 1, Mark Walton, I live with rocks. We do that. We do that introduction. At the end of that speech, then there's another minute of silence. So 2 minutes at the beginning, a minute between each speaker. So after Mark's done speaking, a minute of silence. And it's for the judges to mark their ballots. And during that minute of silence, have the contest master can speaker number 2, please unmute yourself, turn your camera on. Speaker number 2, Sarah, unmutes, turns the camera on, ready to go. Then when you introduce somebody, speaker number 2, Sarah Hawkinson, why does Mark live in front of rocks? Speaker number 2. And it flows that way. If you have somebody who's trying to then figure out how to put their camera up, where to put their notes, all that stuff after they've been introduced, that counts as their time. That's part of the speech itself. So it should be 2 minutes at the beginning, a minute in between speakers, and at the end, at the very end, 2 minutes again for the for the judges to finish their scoring and do math, so that they have those sheets done. So does that make sense for when to have somebody figure out how to turn on their camera, stand up, get rid of their chair, get their notes, all that stuff that they want to do during that? Kathy, yes.
So the 2 minutes at the beginning is for all of the speakers to get their
No.
technology? Just
The
the
2
first-
minutes at the beginning is meant for the judges to get ready to judge. Get your pencil, get your paper. But in those 2 minutes before we start, then you can have speaker one test their audio, test their video.
Okay,
When
I
they're
just
done,
wondered because it sounded
then-
like the first speaker gets 2 minutes,
No,
and
no.
everybody else gets one.
It's for the judges. So you haven't started anything yet. You're just making sure that you're ready to go, and the judges have all the stuff that they need. Oh, I forgot to get a pencil. I have to get the form. It's on the printer over here. Give them the time 2 minutes before you start, a minute, and then 2 minutes at the end. It's the same flow we would have if we were live and in person doing it. You would have 2 before we start anything, 1 in between each speaker, 2 at the end also. And those 2 minutes are for the judges to finish their information. And normally it would be then also for the ballot counter to come by and collect that. But there's no ballot counters, or no ballot collectors now, just ballot counters. So I saw, Lori, I think I saw you shaking your head.
Yeah, one of the things that we did, one of the positive things that came out of our area contest was we had a very good contest master. And when the people were called up, the first thing she went and first of all says, can you see me? Can you see, has your video on? Can you hear? And then they ask, if you could, they said, did you pin the timer?
Yeah.
So they could see the timer. And that would kind of take care of that 2 minute thing that you're talking about. But I thought that when she did that, I thought that was just such an excellent idea. And that way it didn't take away from the speaker, like you were saying, the speaker's time that they're actually speaking. But it worked out very, very nicely and for all of the people involved.
Yes. Tyson, no, I don't think they need 2 minutes, but it's in the rules, so we kind of follow that anyway. Yes, Laura, I completely agree with you. Whatever you do, though, I urge you to not introduce somebody and then stop the clock while they figure out their lectern, while they figure out their camera, they figure out how to unmute themselves, all that stuff, all that should count towards their time once they've been introduced. So the camera and stuff, do that before they get introduced. Then once they're introduced, then they go. Gabrielle, I'll come back to you in 1 second. Lori Haynes, I think I saw you shaking your head no at one point there also. I can't hear you. I'm so sorry. You're not muted, but I can't hear you. Never mind. Okay, sorry. Gabriella.
So I was in 2 contests, and in none of them, the contest master announced who is the timer and asked to demonstrate the timing screens. So I think that is extremely important.
Yes.
For people to know who the timer is and whom they need to watch.
Yes.
And also to maybe mention, right, pin the timer to make sure that you see that.
Yes. 100%. Absolutely. What's the role between, what is not the rule, but the role between timer 1 and timer 2? Because you have 2 timers that are in each contest. What does timer 1 do differently than what timer 2 does? Rick.
I don't know if the numbers are right, but one of the timer's sole responsibility is to operate the timing device. The other timer's sole responsibility is to record the times. Should only be 1 timesheet filled out by the person that's got the stopwatch and is recording the times.
Close. So the second timer. All right. So you have 2 timers. One of them is the one that's going to do the background lights for the speeches, the green, the yellow, the red. And if you can do that, if you can get your timer to do them as backgrounds with the words on them, it is so much better for the speakers to be able to see somebody, to pin them, to know what the timing lights actually are. Timer number 2 is making sure that timer number 1 didn't forget what timer number 1 was supposed to do with the background lights. Sometimes they forget to turn this on. So even though 5 minutes has hit and they're supposed to put up green and they put the green up here, every once in a while, somebody hits the wrong thing on their background and they do this at 5 minutes. Timer number 2 is making sure that timer number 1 is putting up the right timing lights and is timing correctly. In a normal contest, when you're into, Mark, I'll come to you in a second. I see you doing I want to raise my hand, but I don't want to. In a normal contest, yes, we would only have one timing sheet, but we would have them sitting side by side. We might not even be in the same part of the state to do side by side. So normally you would have a phone or a watch, and they would hit it together, and they would hit it. They know what they're watching it. One's checking the other. It's fine if you have two different timers and they're keeping track of times individually. Timers 1 times are the official times. Timers 2 times are the ones making sure timer number 1 didn't forget the time, because it happens sometime. Timer number 1 all of a sudden is like, this is an amazing speech, I am engrossed, and they completely forget to turn on lights. It happens. Janae's like, yep, seen it. If you ever looked at Darren LaCroix's winning speech from 2001, they forgot to turn the lights on for him at one point. He got 30 extra seconds. He's the only international world champion to actually go long because they forgot his lights. And he got 30 extra seconds, and he knew it during the speech. So timer 2, make sure timer 1 didn't forget to do timer 1 job, if that helps. So does that make sense for the timing part? But absolutely make sure that they know who the timer is and that they can pin the timer also. Now, how many of you have had somebody compete that they were just on their phone, and they couldn't see everybody else? I've been to a couple of contests so far, and that's been a thing, that if you're competing on your phone and all you can see is yourself, that's very difficult to actually be able to see timing lights. If you have somebody on their phone, it's kind of their choice for their phone, though. So we're just doing timing based upon everyone being able to see this. There's a way on your phone to be able to still show grid view. What does that mean to wave the flag? Surrender? I don't know, Kathy. I'm not sure what that means, to wave the flag.
Tyson just mentioned about the timer 2 waves the flag and continues through the rest of the contest.
Yep. I just meant displaying the colored backgrounds or holding up the card, whichever you are using for the timing.
Correct. Yes. Sorry, I didn't know what wave the flag meant either. Thank you, Tyson. I appreciate that. So if you have somebody who's on their phone, there is still an option for the grid view on their phone, so they can still pin somebody. If they haven't figured that one out, unfortunately, that's on the speaker to figure out how to put themselves in a position that they're going to be able to see everything. It's not on you as the contest master or an area director or a division director to make sure that they understand the technology that they're going to use at the time that they're using it. If they want to ask you stuff beforehand, absolutely help walk them through how to, and they have questions, help them walk through that before the contest day so that everyone's on the same page. So does that make sense to how that flow should work? Okay, Mark, back to you, my friend.
Yes, I want to get back to our previous topic, which was the sound and video checks. This is related to that. What do you believe to be the best practice if a speaker's connection fails or they have a technical issue in the middle of their speech? Should they be permitted to come back after the next speaker? Do we hold the contest? What do you think?
So let's talk about how this happens if we're in person. The last time that we met for a district conference in person was in, I think, Carmel, Indiana. I was brand new back then. I'm not exactly sure where we were, but at the district finals, the representative from Division B, her mic was never turned on. So everyone else that night, they were mic'd, but one speaker's mic was never turned on when she spoke. At the end of the contest, there was no do-over. It didn't matter. Even though the back of the room couldn't hear her, there wasn't a do-over for it. It was still a live event. It went on as it went on. The same process, the same concept holds true if their audio fails, if their internet drops, all of those sorts of things. It's a shame when it happens. It's absolutely painful to watch, and it is such a shame to see it happen. But while they're speaking, if it drops, it's just kind of like if your mic cut out in the middle of your speech. If you're in a grand ballroom, We don't stop for that either. We keep going, and unfortunately, it's just one of those things that we have to try to deal with ahead of time.
You say we keep going. Should that speaker be allowed the remaining time to get back online?
Once they've started, their clock starts.
That's what I mean. Should, if they zip out of the internet at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, do they have another 5 minutes to get back and complete their speech?
No. They unfortunately they do not. The same happens at a district if you're live at a contest. If the mic cuts out, you don't get extra time once they figure out how to turn the mic back on.
They get their initial time allotment.
If
they started speaking at 9:05, do they have 7 minutes until 9:12 to get back online?
That's not in the rules anywhere. It's a straight, it's a continuous clock. It's not a stop and go.
Okay.
If that happens, you can give them an extra.
They would in fact have that number of minutes to reappear and repair their connection.
No, unfortunately, that is not. Yeah, no.
Well, they've got a 7 minute slot, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, they have a 5 to 7 minute slot.
3 minutes of are spent offline rather. They still got 4 minutes left.
That's true.
Of their original time slot.
That is 100% true. Yep.
Yeah, that would be awful.
It would be horrible. I saw it happen at a contest. There was a contest, I forget which of the ones that I was at this past weekend. There was a speaker whose internet connection was awful, and it pretty much, you heard this word, and then 17 words later, and then another 3 words later, and it sounded like it could have been a really good speech, but nobody really knows because we didn't hear the whole thing. So it's unfortunately, it's an unfortunate situation for where we are now, but there's no do-over. It's not a start all over again.
Okay.
Good. Other questions about that? Does that all make sense? Are we all on the same page? We think that we're comfortable with this? Rick? You just muted yourself.
I just want to add that there's a publication 479 that was put out for special circumstances. Mark, the situation you referenced gives you a couple of additional options, even some that are a little strange about prompting when it's reconnected, because the person on the other end doesn't know when may not know when they were disconnected or that they were disconnected. So he doesn't know where he was in his speech. You might want to just check that out. It's a lot of different details than to go into this time, but publication 479, you get it off the Toastmasters International website.
Thank you. I've not heard of that whatsoever. So thank you, Rick. I will find that and we will get that to people. Thank you. I did not know that. Kathy.
Yeah, and I think I read in the rule book, if there was like a technical issue where the timer was not displayed at all.
Correct.
Just like last year's district contest, they get 30 seconds extra.
Last year, it had nothing to do with the timer, though. It was the audio that wasn't turned on.
Anything technical.
If there's a timer's error, they get an extra 30 seconds.
Oh, it was what? LaCroix, Darren LaCroix.
LaCroix got an extra 30 seconds because the timer didn't work.
Right.
So they get an extra 30 seconds for that. Yes.
Was there anything else that would give you that extra 30 seconds?
I believe it's just timing issues. I don't know of anything else that gives you the extra 30 seconds other than timer fails. And if the timer fails multiple times, that's why you have 2 timers there. The timer number 2 job is to fix timer number 1. Even if they mess them up on multiple occasions, you don't keep getting 30 seconds every time they mess up.
Okay.
You get an extra 30.
Okay.
The first time I made it to a division round was the first year I competed. So 2012. That year I made it to district. That very first year I competed. At the division round, I looked over on the side where the clocks were, and there was a red light and a lady holding yellow cards. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I should just shut up now because I have no idea how much time I have left. So stuff does happen. Because of that, I would have had an extra 30 seconds, but I had no idea because I was brand spanking new. But that's great to cover in the briefings before you start so everyone knows what the rules are and what the process is. great conversation. Thank you. What else? What other questions are out there? All right. So as folks are moving on, or there's one other change. There's one other thing that's out there that's in the rule book this year. It's a best practice in the rule book, but something that we will do for the district finals to make it a little bit easier. It's very hard to do this for area and division contests and have it be fair. But for the district finals, the judges will actually be blacked out. Their screens will be blacked out, and they will just have J1, J2, so they'll never be seen on camera. Judge 1, Judge 2, Judge 3, Judge 4, Judge 5, Judge 6, yada, yada, yada. The goal for that is so that as folks are coming and going from rooms, you don't know who that is. Incredibly difficult and awkward to do when it's a area level contest, even a division level contest, because you don't have so many people in there that all of a sudden you have to turn everyone's cameras off, and then you're just talking to a void. And that is incredibly awkward, and it's disconcerting for everybody involved. One of the contests I was at over the weekend took that to the nth degree, and the only screens that they allowed to be on were the speaker and the timer. That was it. Everyone else was muted. Everyone else was blacked out. So that everyone speaking was speaking to almost an entirely black screen. And I think that takes it way to an extreme that part of what we're doing is we're trying to connect with people. And if you can see someone's face and you see them laugh or smile, that's part of what this is for. Otherwise, you should just be able to record it and not do that. So at the district level, we'll end up having the blacked out judges. So their screens just say J1, J2, J3, J4, J5. And when they go to rooms, no one will ever know who those people were because they never saw them in the first place. Cameras were never on. You don't need to do that at area division. It's just way too awkward to pull that off. Kathy.
This might be a good time to interject this.
Sure.
I'm going to confess something, and if this is too hard to hear, just go like this. During my area contest, as the contest master, I had an initial breakout room with the contestants, and I have something that you can get from the internet, a random name picker or something like that, that I did a screen share with. However, and I've got to practice this more. I don't know exactly what happens technology wise, but I shared the screen, and you pick which screen you're sharing. And I picked my main internet page that had, it had my list of roles up with all the judges on it and everybody's names and numbers. And I immediately exited out of that and switched over to my random name picker. However, I didn't see it anymore, but all the contestants, they never switched over to the random name picker. Oh. They were still stuck on that page. And they're going, we can see the judges, we can see the judges. And I'm like, okay. And I exited out, finally, I had to exit out of my random name picker and then open that back up and exit out of that and go back into the random name picker. And I said, well, in this contest, you're going to know who the judges are anyway, because there's nobody else there. If they leave I said, you guys are smart people. You probably would have figured that one out anyway. But just for beyond that, and for you guys' sake, figure that out. I don't know exactly, but maybe just have none of your other pages open except the random name picker, so that when you do your screen share, that's the only option that they're going to see.
That's it's very funny. That's really just kind of good. That's good advice just for all Zoom calls, so that you don't accidentally share the thing that you don't want people to see in the background anyway. So you're human. It's okay. It's okay. Everyone's going to make mistakes. Stuff happens. It's not a big deal. I find that to be very funny though. And I greatly appreciate that. It's all right. Don't worry about it. So if we're live, so let's say that we're at a live contest though. Let's say that we're doing an area contest and we're all in person and we're at a library and we're doing a contest. The speakers know who the judges are. They're the people with the clipboards. Like it's not like you don't know those people. When you're in a division contest, they're the people with the clipboards. Now they should be scattered throughout the crowd if we're live and they're not all sitting in one row. But so yeah, is stuff going to happen? Absolutely. We're trying to eliminate as much of the stuff as possible so that we have the fairest opportunity for people, the best experience for everybody. Don't sweat that. There was another question that came in. It's about trophies. And yes, I want to make sure that, yes, we'll allow time for you, Mark. Absolutely. So one more thing about trophies. I should have received already. My trophy company is a week late in getting me trophies. But I have all the trophies ordered for area, division, district levels. They're all coming to me. If you please send me the winners' names and addresses for where to send trophies to. And as I get them, I am mailing them all here. It seemed redundant for me to get trophies, send them to you, for you to mail them somewhere else. Let's just take out that second step and save some postage. And I'm just mailing them from my house. So I should get them this week. I should have already had them, but I don't yet. So just when you have winners, email me, name, address, where to send trophies to, and I will send them out. I thought it was hysterical that the first email I got with a trophy winner, first trophy I'm sending goes to Taiwan, because that's the right look, Sarah. That was my look too when I read the email. It's perfectly cool. We have a lot of international members now. We've been able to do this internationally. So we have international members. Somebody from Taiwan won one of the contests. They get a trophy. I am mailing a trophy to Taiwan, which I am positive that the trophy mailing rate is going to be way more than the trophy is worth. But it's perfectly cool to do that. So I hope that helps about what to do with winners and how to get trophies. Does that help everybody? Yeah. At your contest, I do recommend though, the certificates we normally give out to people during contests. If you fill those out and pull those up, that's a really nice way to recognize them for the winning at the contest though. So you can screen share, just make sure that you know what you're screen sharing. So you're screen sharing the right thing to do that. So I'm mailing it to the club, not to Taiwan. Oh, I saw Taiwan and just got stuck on Taiwan. I didn't see that, but I'll be glad to mail it to Taiwan and save the club some money. We have the money in the district account this year to help you out. Okay. Yes, Candace, I saw yours come up. That's what I was replying to. I have a notification thing that pops on my screen. So other questions we have out there before. Mark has something. He says he's going to open up a can of worms, and we have some time for that. Gabriella, before we get to Mark, yes.
Can you get to best practices for judges sending?
Oh, thank you.
Votes
Yes.
and other things.
So the way that I've seen it work best in every contest that I've witnessed, and I've been a judge now in I think 6 different contests over the past couple of weekends, the phone seems to work the best with texting a picture of the bottom part of the ballot to each ballot counter individually. So let's say that Kathy and Tyson are the 2 ballot counters, and there are 4 judges. Each of those 4 judges takes a picture of the bottom portion only of the ballot and texts that picture to Kathy and to Tyson alone, and that's it. Then Tyson and Kathy put together their numbers. They text the winners to the chief judge, who, let's call, I don't know, Laura, you haven't had a role today for whatever reason. Laura is our chief judge in this situation. Laura then gets the winners texted to her from Kathy and Tyson that she can then give to the contest master to read out for at the end of the contest. So photos absolutely work the best. Have somebody take a picture of them, send them on through, have them send them on through text. If it's somebody who doesn't text and they need to email, still do the photo, attach it to an email and send that. Make sure that the ballot counters, though, remember that somebody's is coming through email. One of the contests that I was at, one of the ballot counters completely forgot that there was a text coming from somebody in email. I had to remind her that. She's like, oh yes, I forgot. Just remind them of that. Communication is really the most important part, but the pictures seem to still be the best way. I love what Lori Haynes did when it comes to the technology to be able to do Google Sheets and that kind of stuff, to be able to send this stuff out. But honestly, when it comes to our members, we have a number of folks that are still technologically challenged enough that that seems to be putting just way too much strain on an overly strained process in the first place. Keep it as simple as possible. Take the pictures, send that on. They need the pictures so they know that they're signed, so that your judges have signed their ballots. If it's not signed, it still doesn't count. So Gabrielle, does that help?
And does the chief judge go into a break room with the ballot counters to oversee the counting?
Yeah, there should be, you should have all the judges, all the ballot counters should all go into one room together. The judges text their stuff to the ballot counters. When the ballot counters say, yes, I have all four, I have one from each person, then the judges can leave and the ballot counters stay there with the chief judge, make sure they have the math right, that they've awarded 3 points for first place and not for third place. It's easy to do, seen that happen. And then they give it to the chief judge gives it to the contest master. So one big breakout room for all the judges and all the judging folks. And the timers send their information to the chief judge as to whom was disqualified or not disqualified, because it does not affect the judging whatsoever. Bless you, Mark. It doesn't affect the judging whatsoever. It does affect the winners and losers, though, and placers. So does that help you, Gabriella?
Yes, well, I didn't really think that the judges need to go into a breakout room with the rest of the people. I thought it's only the chief judge and the ballot counters. So.
It's good to put the judges in there, because what happens when the ballot counters don't get the texts from the judges? They need, so that they can tell, okay, I'm still missing Scott. Scott, are you texting it? And then Scott says, here's the number I'm texting it to. And then the judge says, that's not my number, because I did that this past weekend. I missed a number on one of the judges, and there's some random person out there in Fort Wayne that got a picture of a ballot and have no idea what it's for. We'd love to have seen that person when they got the text. So put them all together so then they can say, no, my number ends in a 6, not an 8. And I remember I'm supposed to wear glasses. So you put them all together, the communication just, it makes it more it's smoother through the whole process.
So would that interfere with the, let's say, confidentiality of who is judge?
The
Unless they are
judging
blacked
side
out.
knows who the judge is. So the chief judge knows the judges. The ballot counters know the judges because they're supposed to get them from the judges anyway. You're not telling the contestants who the judges are.
Yeah, but if all those people leave, the contestants will know they are judges.
If we were in a room, they would see them walk back in.
True.
Which is why for the district contests, we'll have them blacked out with just J1, J2, J3, J4, J5, etc. So when they leave and come back in, you never know who was behind the blacked out screen.
Yeah.
Does that help? Cool. All right, Rick, I saw you with your hand raised. You're muted. Drat.
One of the things that work better for us in the pictures, because not everyone has smartphones either, is all of the forms are now available in editable form. So you can edit little PDFs, they just fill them out and then they send them as email attachments.
That's an option also. That is an option also. Tyson, they can all go together. The judges can go with them. For communication, it makes it so much easier for the judges to be with the ballot counters. And then once they have all the ballots, then the judges can leave.
I agree. I was just talking about the physical means of filling out the forms themselves.
Yeah.
So.
That is a very good call. Yes, absolutely, Rick. Thank you. Sorry, Tyson texted. He put something in chat, and I was responding to the chat. So we good. We think we've covered everything. We think we're on the same page now for how this works. There's still a couple area contests out there that are happening this weekend and a couple the following weekend. So we still have some time to help some folks out that are out there. Division contests then start the weekend after that. If you're available, everybody needs help. Everybody needs help. So feel free to volunteer, to help. And I think that's what Mark is going to get into now. But Kathy, one more real quick before we get to Mark.
Yeah, I just, I know you're going to have the Zoom master. Make sure they know how to do the breakout rooms. Make sure they know. You have to make them the host, and you are the host initially. And the Zoom master should know how, should be able to walk you through everything and know how to deal when there are problems. Mine, I didn't have a couple things set up right because, and Mark might share this, we realized that if you've got 2 Zoom accounts, you're going to have to switch to the District 11 account. Don't have it all. I had all mine set up on my personal Zoom account, and it's different setup on the District 11 account. So you have to log in and change the, before the meeting starts, you have to change allowing breakout rooms, enabling the waiting room. And if you don't know how to do that stuff, now's the time to learn how to do it, or have the Zoom master know how to do it.
Yes, very good call. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Mark, okay. So you have a can of worms you want to open.
Yep.
Have at it, my friend.
It's my can of worms, but it's probably going to be some of yours as well. But by golly, I'm opening it. I get to go first. I need a tie-breaking judge for a area contest, not from Division E, this Saturday from 9 to 12. Don't all rush to volunteer at once, but only one of you gets to go first.
Nobody's asked me to do anything this weekend.
Scott, you're it. Thank you.
Send me the link.
See how easy that was?
That was not such a can of worms.
Now, well, I'm not done. Everybody who is holding their division contest on March 20th at 9 o'clock in the morning, only if you're holding your division contest on March the 20th at 9 o'clock in the morning, hold up your hands. Okay, I see Jerry, Rick, Laura, Lori, and Rachel are all volunteering to help, right? In my contest, knowing that I will help in yours. Is there anybody who cannot help on March 20th? Laura,
what are you talking about? You've confused me.
we're talking about the Division E contest.
Okay,
But we do have a contest on the 20th. So if
Yes,
you're on
division.
the 20th, we can't really help.
That's right. If you have a contest on the 20th, don't show your hand or show up your hand, but otherwise I'm going to pray on you. That's what I'm here for. And you need to do the same thing, folks. Jerry, do you have a contest on the 20th?
I do indeed, since now I'm not confused by what you said.
Rick, how about you?
You're on mute, Rick.
I'm already committed elsewhere at that same time.
Laura, you're committed?
I'm working. Yeah.
Mark, I can help with your contest on the 20th if you help with mine on the 27th.
Done.
And I can help with either or both.
Done.
Bye, Gabriella. Thank you. That wasn't a can of worms. That was an easy can of worms. That was just asking for help.
Laura, did you want to volunteer generously or?
I've already volunteered, and partly because I'm getting a favor in return for this weekend for the a couple of area contests in Division H. So.
Okay. Rachel, how about you? Would you like to have some fun this weekend?
Sorry, helping with another one, another group.
Okay. Yep. Janie?
Janae. And I'm already committed on the 20th.
I think a lot of people are, but I'm trolling for whoever I can get. Crystal?
I totally get it. I respect the hustle.
Sorry, I'm busy that morning already.
Yeah, lots of girls tell me that every time I ask them out, they say, sorry, I'm busy, whenever it is, and we don't know yet. Okay. Edward. He's invisible and he's mute. So I'm going to take that as, there you are, Ed.
You're good, boss. You're good.
Okay. Are you ready for?
I will hopefully be out of the state.
That's okay with me as long as you've got a Zoom connection.
Yeah, I'll be out of the state too, but I'll help. I don't care. All right. So I think you can certainly find enough folks to help you without a doubt here. Remember, we have a meeting tomorrow night also, which is a whole different group probably than what are on tonight. You're all welcome to come back if you want to. If you want to hear another conversation, you're more than welcome to join. This is really just I wanted to get everyone together to have these conversations, though. I thank you so very, very much for this tonight. I think this was an absolutely wonderful opportunity to kind of talk through some of the challenges we've had, get everyone back on the same page. And this is different. It's all just really different. Even the stuff that's the same feels different. And that's okay. We're learning as we go through it. That's the great thing with Toastmasters. It's a laboratory for failure and growth. And so it's okay. Moving forward, we figure some stuff out. Anything else before we go tonight? No?
Yeah.
Tyson.
Actually, I would like to just clarify when someone does a joint area contest. I had decided for my division to group a couple areas together, especially since we had a couple of areas, 2 areas with only one club competing. Since we had to have a competition, we just combined them together. And I reached out. Thank you, Rick. Thank you for Dave in Division B who helped out answering some questions, and Scott, you sent an email too. But if you are doing a joint area contest, you have to go through one area, complete that contest, announce the winner first before doing the second contest. It helps a lot because you can use the same judges, ballot counters, all of that. So you just have to fill that roster once, but you still have to treat each as a separate component, correct?
Correct. Absolutely correct. The other thing that you can do there, so you only have one contestant in a contest, which doesn't even make it a contest, really. It's really just making sure that they qualify for time, which means if you only have one person competing, the most important people in that group are the timers. As long as they qualify for time, they move on. So say that you have 2 different, so I'm going to say you have one person from 11, one person from 13, and they're the only 2 evaluators in the evaluation contest. You can have one person give a test speech, let them both prepare their notes for the test speech because they're not competing against anybody else. Make sure that so do area 11 first. They get their time, they qualify, they don't qualify, announce the winner, move on to the next one, do it the same way. The time works out for that. As long as there's only one single contestant, then you can use the same test speaker as you go through as well. The timer is really the most important part through that. As long as and as long as there's no protests, so that they didn't give a speech that somebody else already gave. It's happened to me. It's a horrible thing to have happen. But yes, the number one person, the most important part though, timers, most important part. Most important part. Kathy.
Okay, couple things. You just brought up one. If there is a protest, what do we do? And the second thing I was going to bring up, and I'm sorry, I had a phone call right at the very beginning of your meeting. Did you give out the forms that, I think there were a couple things that Mark had sent you? Well, if you need, make your agenda. I have an agenda. You can reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat. But if you use my agenda, please make it your own. I think you were there, Scott. Somebody just copied the date and time and the Zoom link at the top, but the agenda didn't go with what the meeting was. So put your own times in and the number of speakers. Edit it, please. Don't just having a wrong agenda is probably worse than having no agenda in my mind.
I would agree. I would completely agree with that. You're absolutely right. So for protests, so the folks that can protest speak, the contestants can protest, the judges can protest. Those are the ones who can protest the speech. When that happens, the protest is filed with either the contest master, chief judge, or contest chief. So one of the three of them receives it. Depending upon what it is, you need to review whatever the issue is that's around the protest of that. If you only have one contestant, you're probably only going to be dealing with protests that are of originality. It's going to probably be the number one thing you're going to protest as if you only have one contestant. Only one contestant. Janae.
I'm a bit confused about having the contests by area. So just help me understand that.
So you have, so do area 11 first. You have your evaluation, you have your international speech. Be done with that. Move on to area 12. Then move on to area 13. So even if you only have one contestant, you're not going to just have the contestant from 11 and then the contestant from 12 and the contestant from 13 are going to speak back to back to back. You're going to do the one from 11. You're going to make sure that the time is right, that there's no protest. You're going to announce a winner. Then you're going to go to 12. You're going to make sure the time is right. There's no protest. You have a winner. Then you're going to go to 13 and on and on and on. So you're finishing one before you move to another.
Well, doesn't that mean that the test speaker for the evaluation contest is going to keep speaking each time?
Don't need to. If you only have one contestant, then the originality part of it comes in the evaluation. So you could have them just speak once.
If I may elaborate on that, last Saturday, we did a joint contest for areas 11 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
First, we did international. We had one of our areas, area 12, only had one speaker. We had them speak. Then as chief judge, I received the timing reports, announced them that there was no disqualification. There were no objections from the judges. And so we announced them as a winner. So then the international area 12 contest was done. And then we had two contestants from area 11 who spoke for the international contest. They spoke, we tallied up the votes, announced the winner. Then we went into the evaluation contest. We had the test speaker speak first. Area 12 only had one contestant. We put all of the other contestants from area 11 into the breakout room so that they were not present in the meeting. The contestant from area 12 gave her evaluation first. Then I received the timing report. There was no disqualification. And then we brought, then at the point we announced the winner. We announced her as a winner for area 12 for the evaluation contest. So area 12 evaluation contest was complete. And then the contestants from area 11, we brought them in one by one and they spoke, they gave their evaluation.
So Tyson, that it's only if you only have one per. You can't, if you have multiple people competing against each other, then you should have multiple, then you'd have a test speaker for 11, and there's only one contestant. Then you have a test speaker for 12, and there's two contestants, so you would have a separate test speaker. So using the one test speaker only happens, you can only do that if you only have a single contestant per contest, per area. So you have one person in 11, one person in 12, one person in 13. The timing doesn't, what matters is, was it original and did they stay within time? But if you have multiple people competing in a different area, then they should have a different test speaker.
So we should have a different test speaker for each area. So if I combine two areas together, one area only has one contestant, the other one has 2 or 3. We should still have a different test speaker for each area.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's only if you only have the one, because if you have the one, then by time, all that you're really doing is figuring out time and originality to move on. Laura.
One of the things that we did, and it worked out very nice, was so that you didn't have to go through the thing of getting the ballots in and whatever and counted. We would announce, this is the end of the area such and such contest. Now I'm going to bring, the results will be given later. Now I'm going to bring area so-and-so, and introduce those contestants. And we actually notified, it was made clear that this area was ending and the other was starting, because we had one contest for a couple of areas and then the other, and only two in another. So it worked out, okay, but we used the same test speaker for all of them. And then we just went and had everybody go to the breakout rooms, and then they pulled back in one person at a time from the particular area.
But you did that because you only had one contestant per area though, correct?
Well, we had two in a couple of areas. We had,
So if you have two contestants, excuse me, two contestants in an area, they should have a separate test speaker, because then the timing for how long they have to prepare their evaluations is different. If you only have one contestant, they're really not competing against anybody else. The only person they're competing against is the clock.
yeah.
But if you have two contestants and they're competing against each other, then you should have a separate contest for them. The way around, if you wanted to still just do the one contest speaker, then say you have area 11 has two contestants, area 12 has one contestant. Do the area 11 contest first, because they're the ones competing against each other, and then go into the one with the one contestant, because again, they're just competing against the clock.
Okay.
Did I lose you?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, it worked out really nice for us, and that we just used the one speaker, but we had all of the people that were in the evaluation contest were in the breakout room, and then they were just brought out individually when it was time for them to do their evaluations.
And if there are protests, they can chat them to the individual organizer. They can chat them to the chief judge, to the contest master, contest chair. Very good. Anything else? Think we're comfortable helping out with other folks? Yeah? All right. Everyone, thank you again. Thank you so very much for tonight. I greatly, greatly appreciate your time, your energy, your effort, the execution of it all. Thank you so very, very much. I'm going to hit stop record. I'm going to post this one because I know there are some folks that are working tonight and tomorrow night. There are some folks that